Hello everybody, my name is Matt. This video is for the Lucid Dreaming Firehose, part of the internal library. And I was originally going to do this series kind of as a scripted, video part where everything was, edited just so, and had me kind of presenting it in a very formal and linear way. And I did that, but I wasn't a huge fan of it, and I feel like I'm probably not going to do videos like that. It felt stilted and a little corny to me, honestly, which, some people do it really well, but I felt like I was trying to be a persona rather than me just talking off the cuff like I'm doing now and like I will be doing for this particular stream. So what I'm going to do is just record a long stream of all this information, and I have some handy dandy notes here that I'll go through, and then at the end I'll publish both streams, or one stream depending on how long it is, and then I'll just clip it up and separate into intelligible sections from that point. But yeah, this is my plan. My favorite podcasters, speakers, presenters are usually very long-winded windbaggers, which I have been known to do as well. So I think I'm just going to follow in their footsteps and do the same thing instead of having it be this very polished and edited clip section of many things woven together. Those are great. I'm a fan of those. I'm not that good at those. So I got my water, keep my throat nice and moist, hydrated for a lot of talking. So this is the Lucid Dreaming Firehose. Lucid Dreaming Firehose, all about lucid dreaming, things you need to know, things, mindsets, techniques you're going to want to have in place. Of the skills that I know about, I am the most qualified to talk about this one because I am the most obsessed with this skill out of any other skill that I have ever gotten into. Why is it a fire hose? It's because it's a fire hose in the sense that I'm just going to be throwing a bunch of stuff at you. It's not going to have a lot of backstory, a lot of science, a lot of history, a lot of not neuroscience, things that you should study and could study if you were interested, which are great topics, but this is just to get you started so you have it all mapped out in front of you. Straightforward, actionable, lots of good stuff. So I really want to just kind of give you a scattershot of a bunch of different cans you could open and get into yourself. I'll have resources at the end. You can explore those as well. I've got into them myself, and they'll fill in all the gaps for you. So we'll start with a little bit of a preamble about dedication. Lucid dreaming isn't something that you can really do a lot of unless you prioritize it pretty heavily. You need time and focus and sacrifice of your attention and of your late night hours specifically. However your sleep quality is now, it's going to have to get better. Lucid dreaming is really, really dependent on a lot of sleep. Like sufficient in the sense of maybe 8 hours a night on average. If you're not getting that, then this practice will be harder for you. And honestly, I would recommend not so much sleeping longer, but allowing more time around your sleep, because there's going to be techniques that require you to wake up, move around, get back in bed, and those take time. And you don't want to feel like you're chasing the clock the whole time, because that just makes it stressful, and you start worrying about the future, which pulls you out of the now, which pulls you out of lucidity. So if you're not sleeping well, or if you're not sleeping very long, then that needs to be fixed. And I will have another video on sleep hygiene, which will be me expressing a long list of things in a document that I made for a friend of mine who was having trouble sleeping. So be on the lookout for that. It'll probably be linked below. Maybe it'll pop up in the corner when I figure out how to edit videos to do that part, which is super cool. What got me into lucid dreaming, you may wonder. My first lucid dream was sort of lucid. I'll get into a concept later. It was kind of half lucid. I was a small child. I was probably 4 or 5, and I kept having this dream where I would leave my house in the middle of the night, and there's this laundromat down the street from the house I lived in. And there was this big cow head that was kind of like a trophy head that was on the top of it. It wasn't actually there in waking life, but it was there in my dream. And it was there at night, and I would walk up to it, and then it would yell orders at me. It would tell me to do jumping jacks, or go run around the block several times, or go move things from house to house. Just kind of random, totally pointless tasks that it would have me do. And it was terrifying because it was this big yelling cow head that freaked me out as a small child. And as I got a little bit older, I think I had that dream maybe half a dozen times. And there was this one moment where I realized that I was dreaming and I'd finished the last task, and I kind of gave him this eyebrow, and I was like, this is some bullshit, more or less, as the 5-year-old version of that sentiment. And basically told him, I'm done with this, can I go home now? Because this is stupid and pointless. And my little act of rebellion there against the tyranny of the cowhead, I saw his eyes go like that, and then he just like absorbed and vanished, and I never had that dream again since then. So that was my first like straightforward semi-lucid dream where I took advantage of my knowledge of the situation and resolved whatever conflict was going on psychologically at that time. But throughout the years, I'd had a lot of dreams as a kid, what lots of kids do, that had strange implications about my mind and about what it means to be conscious versus unconscious. But I didn't really discover lucid dreaming as a practice until I was probably 18 or 19. I had been doing a lot of psychedelics, definitely too many, and my mind started to stretch quite a bit, and lucid dreaming, ironically enough, became a sort of endogenous psychedelic reservoir for me that I could go into every night and kind of enter that same state of mind without needing to deal with what we call unreliable drug dealers, who you never know if they're what they're bringing around. So lucid dreaming became a way to endogenously create that ability for me to enter that space and trip out all night, any night, if I wanted to, assuming I had the discipline. But it also was a way for me to start repairing some of the damage I had done to my mind. I'm not a believer that psychedelics damage the brain in any kind of physiological sense that is really notable. I mean, I guess there's conflicting evidence on that, but I'm a big fan of MAPS, and I'm a big fan of their research that psychedelics are more or less physically safe for the brain, but that doesn't mean they're mentally safe, assuming you're using them in places that are definitely not recommended. So set and setting as a phrase that is common in the psychedelic community, I was not using those very well. I was often entering into a bad mindset, and rarely was I in a very healthy setting, and it ended up me doing a lot of serious, I would almost argue, psychiatric damage to my mind through psychedelics. So lucid dreaming was a way for me to step out of that dependency and kind of enter into that same fascination with the strange, trippy, flexible part of my mind without any kind of psychopharmacological assistance. And the biggest catalyst, though, which actually got me to pick up a book, which was really fantastic, is I was studying music theory at my local community college, and I kept having musical dreams, and those dreams were often full of fantastic melodies and harmonies and things that I could actually sort of identify what was going on, but I would wake up and I wouldn't be able to remember or articulate them very well. So what I wanted to do was become more or less a master of lucid dreaming, so that I could go into the dream and get my inspiration of what I was hearing, and then come out of the dream and then write down the musical inspiration. And I did that a few times. It was successful. It's hard to do because you have to wake up once you hear the melody, and then sometimes it's hard to just yank yourself awake without falling into a spiral of false awakenings, which we'll get into later. That's a fun one. But that was what got me into studying lucid dreaming as a practice and as a formal methodology for meditation and visualization and psychic diving and whatnot. So that's what got me into it.